Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to be doing a Pilates chair workout. And just a little bit of heads up before we get started. If anything feels uncomfortable, you feel any kind of, pain, discomfort, you want to stop, maybe take a look at what we're doing, maybe reset and try again, or just watch. All right, so let me click this up. All right, now we're going to be seated, and when you come onto your chair, you also want to make sure that it's on something, if it's sturdy on the floor as well, that it's not going to be sliding. So if you need to kind of move it around, move it onto a surface that's not as slippery. We'll give you a couple seconds to do that. I have mine just sitting on a yoga mat on top of an area rug so that I know that it isn't going to be sliding around. Tip this down so you can see my feet. We want to come forward on the chair as well, because we want to be sitting on our sit bones. So your sit bones are the base of your pelvis, the two bony landmarks that sit at the base of the pelvis. So if you just kind of begin with a little rocking from side to side, you're going to feel the sit bones. And then you can just slowly just come to a quiet sitting position. Your feet are going to be directly underneath your knees. So you want to have a nice 90-degree angle if that is possible. You're going to have creased at the hips, crease at the knee, and a slight flexion at the ankle. So my heels are directly underneath my knees, and I'm sitting up nice and tall on my sit bones. So we're at this position. We want to focus on elongating our spine. So think of a little string coming out of the top of your head. You could even bring your hand on top of your head and press your head up into your hand. That's going to create some length in our spine. So before we start moving, we want to create the most optimal position of our spine. So we feel the ground, our feet are resting on the ground. I do have my socks off, I'm in bare feet. If you feel comfortable doing that, you're going to get a little bit more proprioception or ground reaction of having just your bare feet. And then just take a moment to press down into your feet and just kind of feel how that moves through the body. So pressing down into your feet, you might feel your sit bones ground a little bit more into your chair. It may even push you behind them. It may push you in front of them. So I just want you to get a feeling for when we press our feet into the ground, we feel the ground beneath us. What are we feeling in the rest of the body? Just kind of being aware of that. And then if we would take our hands onto the side of the chair and press down with our hands on our chair, again, we might feel a little lightness in the pelvis and a little bit more lift through the spine. And we're just really just starting to get into position to start working. And then there's areas of the body that we hold a lot of stress. So one of the areas that we hold a lot of stress in is our shoulder girdle. All right, so on the back of the body, as well as the front of the body, it's our shoulder girdle. A lot of times just from our daily activities, we're more rounded in our shoulders. Our shoulders are more forward, which then causes us to come forward. And then what we do just to kind of find where we're going in space is we lift our head and start to send our head back and forth. So if we can get our shoulders to rest on our body so that our shoulders are a little bit more in line with our pelvis, we're going to have a little better length through the spine. We're going to have a little better vision facing forward. The next area that we hold stress in is our diaphragm. So the area of breath. So breathing in and breathing out. We're going to do a little bit of breath technique today. And the third area is our pelvis. So we'll work a little bit with the pelvis. So we're going to kind of go through the entire body. So let's start first with Again, finding our most optimal position. We want to find length in our spine. We want to feel our feet grounded. Hands can just rest on your lap. They could rest to the side of the chair. You just want to have comfortable shoulders to start. And then let's just take a couple of breaths in. So take a breath in. You can breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Or you could breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your nose. So let's go into what's called a 3D breath breakdown. We're going to bring our hands onto our rib cage. So with our hands resting on our rib cage, our shoulders relaxed, we're going to breathe in. And as you breathe in, you want to just feel as if your ribs are expanding out. And as you breathe in, you're going to feel how your ribs are coming in, and your ribs sit on the body at a slight angle. So again, just lightly holding onto the rib cage, breathe in, breathe out. Again, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, or in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then let's find length in our breath. If we bring one hand to our collarbone, one hand to our low belly, can we create some space between our two hands by breathing in? So breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Now, this time when you breathe in, could you breathe into the belly first and then into the hand that's at the collarbone? So start with the breath low into the belly and feel as it travels up to the hand under the collarbones. And then breathe out from the collarbone to the belly. And breathe in, belly to hand. And collarbone to belly. And the third part of this is we want to think about, we have that length of the breath, we have the width of the breath, and then we also have front and back of the breath. So when we take our breath in this time, feel the front of the body and the back of the body. So you could bring one hand onto your low back, one hand onto your mid belly or right at the diaphragm, breathing in, breathing out. And then we want to combine all those parts with just allowing our hands to rest on our thighs. So breathing in, we want to feel the ribs expand. We want to feel length between the collarbone and the belly. And we want to feel width between the front and the back body. Let's take 2 breaths like that. So full cylinder breath. And exhale. One more, inhale. And exhale. All right. Let's talk about the pelvis a little bit. So when we were rocking back and forth, finding our sit bones, the pelvis has the ability to go in many directions. So it's 2 halves. We could roll our pelvis behind our sit bones. That would be a posterior tilt or a tucked pelvis. We could bring our pelvis back to the vertical position and send it just slightly forward and have a little bit of extension in our lower back. And then we could bring it back into that vertical position. Both halves have the ability to move individually as well. We could rock over to one side and lift one sit bone. We could rock over to the other side and lift the other sit bone. So finding our vertical position in a seated position gives us the best posture when we're sitting in a chair. So working at the computer, we want to really focus on sitting up nice and tall. If we start to slouch, then we start to round the shoulders, the head starts to come forward, we're tucking our pelvis, we're moving the arms, and we're creating a lot of tension in our lower back. So just being able to find that position by finding your sit bones, rolling a little bit behind, rolling a little bit in front, finding those sit bones puts us in the most optimal position of seated in a chair. So with that positioning, we could check in with our lower back. A lot of times we hold tension. So let's go into what's called a pelvic clock. So if we imagine that our navel is 12 o'clock, our pubic bone is 6 o'clock, the sides of our hips, if you would bring your hands onto your pelvic crest, we would have one at 3 o'clock and one at 9 o'clock. So taking it into what's called pelvic clock, we could roll our sit bones back towards our navel. We could roll over to our left, which will take us over to 3 o'clock. We could continue to roll our pelvis forward, which puts us in a little bit of extension. Continue to roll over to 9 o'clock and continue to come back up to 12 o'clock. And then once we get to 12 o'clock, let's find our neutral position. Let's take it one time in the reverse. We go to 12 o'clock, so we tuck our pelvis, we roll it over to the right. We're coming to 9 o'clock. We're coming down around. We go into a little bit of extension of our lower back at 6 o'clock. And then we take it back over to 3 o'clock, back to 12, and right back up onto our sit bones. So take it around one more time in both directions and just slowly roll back. Roll the pelvis over to the left. See if you're just checking in for areas of tightness, tension in the back, and maybe even in a little bit into the hips. And then when we come around the next time, we'll just kind of pause at the top and go one more time in the reverse. And if you find an area of tension, maybe just pause there for a second and take a breath. And then coming back up the center. Now, our spine does move into flexion. It does move into extension. We can also move our spine by hinging. So we'll take our hands onto our front of our thighs right now, and your elbows are going to bend, and keeping your spine long, just lean forward and then slowly come back up. So that's a hip hinge. You're just leaning forward and unhinging, coming back up. If your bone density is great, you don't have any problems with low bone density, you could flex your spine. If you have low bone density, you want to avoid flexing your spine in this position and continue to do the hip hinge. If it's okay for you to flex your spine, think about right at the side of the rib cage, a little bit lower, about a handprint from your armpit, is the beginning of your thoracic spine. So keeping your pelvis vertical, just coming forward with your upper back. Think of the top of a candy cane. Most of it is straight and the very top curves over. So that's upper thoracic extent of flexion. So again, if you have any low bone density, osteoporosis, you would just continue to do the hip hinge, right? So from flexion and hip hinging, we could go into a little bit of upper back extension. If we lift our arms up and bring them behind our head, we're narrowing our elbows. We're, again, finding length through our spine. And think of your sternum lifting to the ceiling rather than just tipping the head back. So looking forward, finding where the wall meets the ceiling, looking up, and then coming back forward. Being careful not to push on the head. And again, lifting up, looking up, right where the wall meets the ceiling, keeping our neck nice and long. And we're just taking it into the opposite position of flexion. We're extending our upper back, which is more what we need in daily activities because we are so forward folded. All right, so we'll revisit that a little bit later when we're in some shoulder work. Let's take a look now at the feet. So just kind of start tapping your feet, just kind of waking up bottoms of the feet. And then if you can hinge forward and grab your ball, and I've got several different balls, and I was going to show you, try different balls. I figured everybody might have a tennis ball, but I was going to show a couple of different balls. I have different size balls. I have small. I have one that has a little bit of spike on it, one that's got some little indentations. I also have tennis balls. So you're going to take your ball, and where you're going to place it is right at the base of your toe joints. So I'm going to use the spiky one that's orange because you can maybe see it a little bit better. And I've placed the ball underneath my right foot, and I'm going to just draw a rainbow. So I'm going to take it from my big toe and do a little internal rotation of my foot. And then I'm going to roll that ball to my pinky side and do a little lateral translation of the foot. So at my toe joint, I'm just drawing this little imaginary rainbow, just rotating from my big toe to my little toe. And then I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to move it back so that I'm so I'm going to be right at the base of my heel. So right where my foot meets the rest of where I'm at the heel and at the base of the rest of the foot. So near the arch, but not in the arch. Then I'm going to let my foot rest on the mat so that I'm a little bit elevated on my heel. And then I'm just going to do a little compression into the ball. So I can take my arm and rest it on my thigh and just compress in. And then I'm going to lift off slightly. And then I'm going to put a little pressure in and lift off, and a little bit of pressure in and lift off. And then I'm going to take the ball and I'm just going to roll it back and forth. Go a little bit onto the medial side of your foot, the inside, and a little bit on the outside. Just kind of going back and forth. You could scribble, you could go up to the toes, could go back towards the heel. And then I'm going to bring it back in, and I'm going to be a little bit more into the middle of my foot on my arch. And then again, if I wanted to add a little bit of extra weight into it, I could put my forearm on my thigh and then back off. And then maybe take it one more time, pressing in and lifting off. Now I'm just going to move that ball just a little bit off to the side. And I just want to feel the difference between my feet. All right, so a little bit feel the difference between my feet. My right foot feels a little bit more grounded into the mat. My left foot feels a little bit lighter. So I'm going to move that over and I'm going to bring it onto my left foot. So again, I want to find the toe joints and I'm going to be right below where my toes meet my foot. And then I'm going to compress and I'm just going to draw that rainbow going from big toe to little toe. Just a couple passes. So I'm internally rotating my foot, externally rotating my foot. And then again, I'm going to bring it to the base of my heel. So I'm not quite all the way at the end of my foot. You see a side view, I call it the heel pocket. It's right in front where it meets the arch. And then I'm going to, again, just take a moment to compress into it. I'm going to place my left forearm on my thigh, do a little compression and lift, a little compression and lift. And then I'm going to move it up to the center of my foot, right on my arch, which is not always the most comfortable. And then again, you want to add a little weight into it. And then back up, add a little weight. And back up. And then I'm going to just take the ball and bring it back and forth, kind of scribbling on the foot. I can go back and forth, cross, and then all the way around. And then I'll just step my foot onto my mat. So coming back into that seated position, I'm going to start with a little bit of curling my toes up. So I'm going to scrunch my toes up, and then I'm going to spread my toes. And then I'm going to curl my toes and then spread the toes. And curl and spread the toes. And then I'm just going to try to lift all 10 toes up and see if you can just allow one toe at a time to come back down. And then again, lift all 10 toes and allow all 10 toes to come down. And you might actually feel a little bit of a suction or a little bit of a lift of the arch. All right, so let's move on to the legs. We're going to take your right leg and just outstretch your right leg. Getting the knees straight, and then just reach that leg away. Stay seated on your sit bones, nice and tall. Slide that leg in. Reach your left leg out. And again, we're keeping our pelvis vertical. We're just reaching that leg out. And I'm keeping it connected onto the floor. So let's do one more on each side. Just stretch it out. Bring that foot in. Stretch the left leg out. Bring that one in. Let's go one more on the right. And in. And left. And then when we come back in, reset, come back up nice and tall. We're going to lift our right leg. So hands can come onto the side of your chair. You're going to lift that right leg up. You could hold on. You could also assist and bring that leg up. One thing to watch out for is when you're lifting the legs, that we keep the pelvis vertical instead of falling backwards or rolling the pelvis back. So keep the pelvis vertical, just lift the leg as high as you can go without tucking, without falling backwards. All right, so hopefully have a back on the chair. So again, let's just either assist the leg or hold on to the chair and lift one leg up, lower it down. Lift the other leg up and lower it down. And then see if we can find a little rhythm and just take it into a march. If you're feeling pretty balanced, you could take your arms forward. You could also take your arms out. And again, I'm just lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. I'm trying to make it as effortless as I can. So I'm not having to over recruit a lot of muscles or keep tension anywhere else in the body. I'm just letting one leg lift up, lowering and lifting. Now let's take one leg out a little wider, then the other leg, bring one in, bring the other one in. Out and out, in and in. A little lateral movement of the legs, out, out, in, out, out, in. Check in with your posture. You're sitting nice and tall. Out, out, in, out, out, in. One more, out, out, in. And then let's take a hold of that right leg, extend it out. We can hold it up here. We're just pointing and flexing the foot. And then let's circle the ankles. Go in both directions. And then bend that knee, set it back down. Slide that left leg out. Hold on to the back of the thigh, keep lifted. Point and flex the foot. And then circle. And circle. And then go ahead and bring it back in. All right. We're going to move to the neck first before we do the shoulders. So grab your towel. I have a hand towel. You're going to take your towel and you're going to hold it in a diagonal position because you're going to have a little bit more length and flexibility with it. And you're going to just loosely take that towel and place it around your neck. All right, so you're going to place it around your neck, just like you're putting a scarf around your neck. And then once you have it here, you're going to lightly hold on to the tips of the towel. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do a little neck flossing. So all you're going to do without pulling forward on your neck, you're still in your upright posture. You're just going to let the towel move back and forth. You can move it up a little bit up the back of the neck and then slowly let it come back down. And again, you're just going to bring it up and bring it back down. And you'll probably begin to feel a little bit of heat on the back of the neck. And then we'll just let that towel rest. Taking the hands down, we want to keep the nose a little bit tipped up because we have a tendency to just kind of drop our head. So keeping the nose a little bit tipped up, you're going to slowly just turn your head and look to the right. You're just kind of noticing any tension in the neck. Come back to center, turn your head to the left. And come back to center. This time you're going to take your right ear over your right shoulder. Just kind of notice that left side. Come back up, take your left ear over your left shoulder and notice the right side of your neck and come back up. Let's turn over that right shoulder and then bring your head halfway back. So I'm looking out halfway in a turn, and then I'm going to look down towards the floor. And this is working a different area of the neck. Lift back up, unwind, come back to center. Turn to the left, come back halfway, and look down. And then back up and center. Now, to do a little neck extension, we're going to hold our towel. We're going to, again, without pulling at it, bringing it up a little bit higher towards the base of our skull. And we're just going to look up towards where the wall meets the ceiling. So we've got that little bit of support for the neck. And then we're going to look forward. So again, the chin's pulled in slightly, the nose is tipped up, and we just tilt the head back slightly. And forward. One more time, take a breath in, lifting up where the wall meets the ceiling, and then back to center. And then we'll let that towel come back down. All right, so let's take the towel, just let it rest there. We're going to take the arms and reach straight out from the shoulders. Elbows are straight. We're reaching fingertips forward and then sliding them back. So our shoulder blades are moving forward and into the back. Forward and into the back. It's protraction and retraction of the shoulder blades. Still in our upright position. And then let's just lift one arm up, lower that arm down, lift the other arm up, and lower down. Just notice how the arms are moving. When we lift the arms, we want to get our upper arm to be in line with our cheekbone. If we lift it higher, we may start to side bend. We will definitely be lifting our shoulder blade. We want to just move the arm bone in the joint without moving our shoulder blades. So our shoulder blades are just resting quietly on our back. And then we are going to come up one more time with that left arm and then back. Let's lift our fingertips to our shoulders and let's take our elbows up now so they're in line with our shoulders, and we'll just do little shoulder rolls. We're just kind of noticing how that arm bone is moving in the joint. Is there any cracking or popping? If there is, then you're going to make it smaller. Let's pause and go the other way. Arms down. Let's reach our arms out and just notice our wrists. Let's make a gentle fist, and then we're just going to rotate the wrist and then go in the opposite direction. And then we're going to reach the arms out, spread the fingers, and then lift the arms up into a wide V. We're going to be rotating the wrist, keeping the fingers spread. Come all the way down to the side of the pelvis, keeping that little bit of space away from the body, taking it up once again. Into that nice wide V, just reaching arms away and then coming down once again. And then go ahead and reach up and grab your towel. We're going to lift it up and over. We're going to bring it up, and our palms are going to be facing up towards the ceiling. So we're facing up towards the ceiling. We have elbows in close to the body, and we're on the front side of the body. So we want to make sure that the elbows aren't behind us. They're at the side body or slightly forward. And then just ever so slightly pull on that towel as if you could pull it apart, and then relax. And again, you're just going to pull outward on that towel and then relax and then pull and relax. There's not a lot of movement. Just kind of working on the rotators just slightly in that pull out. And then maybe take it a little bit wider, and this time go with an overhand grip. And then we're just going to float the arms up. And again, we want to just come to a comfortable position. We're lifted up nice and tall, and we're taking it into a gentle side bend over to the right, and then back to center, and a gentle side bend over to the left. Keeping the ribs lifted up and off the hips. We go to the right, back to center, over to the left. So let's do one more on each side. And up and over. And then just taking the arms down, coming forward. Now, lift arms up without having the towel, and just bring your elbows in to the body. You're going to open up to the side, bring the arms back, reach forward this time, straight up from the shoulders, open out, wide arms into the T. Bring the arms in, bend the elbows, come back in, open out to the side, back to center, reach arms forward, open out, back to center, coming in one more time, opening, bring it back to center, reaching forward, and open. Now, let's just bring our hands back up, interlace our fingers, bringing them behind our head. Elbows are a little bit narrow. Let's just check in and see if we have a little bit more range, a little bit more flexibility in our upper back as we go into a little bit of extension. And then back to center. Let the arms come all the way up. You can come into a little bit of a hip hinge. And then we're going to just take our towel and lower it down. We're going to be turning sideways on your chair. So if you can turn sideways, the leg that's closest to the back of the chair is going to be on the floor at 90 degrees. So you have your foot to knee to pelvis, and then your outside leg is just dropping down. So I have the toes turned under on the back foot. My knee is just reaching down. It does not have to touch the floor. You're in a little bit of a lunge, and I'm a little bit more off the chair on one side, but I'm definitely holding on if you have a back of the chair, or hold on to the seat. And I'm just allowing the front of my hip of the outside leg to open up a little bit. So we've got a little bit of hip extension, strengthening with that leg that is on the inside. Take your outside arm and lift up. At the same time, my knee is reaching towards the floor. I'm reaching up with my outside arm, getting length through that side body. And then I'm going to lower my arm down. And then again, I'm going to inhale and lift up. And then exhale, lower down. And inhale, lift up. And exhale, lower down. This time when I lift up, I'm going to take it into a slight side bend. Just breathing into that side. And then back up. And I'm going to lower all the way down. Walk that foot in. Slowly make your way back to center. Just take a moment here, feeling both feet. And then we're going to turn and take it to the other side. So taking time to set yourself up. You want to feel sturdy on the chair. You want that inside leg to be 90 degrees. If you can get that ankle underneath the knee, hold on, that you feel balanced on your chair. And you're just kind of noticing. There's a little bit of internal rotation at the hip of the outside leg. My hand is resting on the back of my chair, but you may have to hold on to the seat of the chair. And then just taking a moment, letting gravity pull that knee down towards the floor. My toes are turned under. And then I'm just reaching that arm up towards the ceiling. And as I reach up, I'm just going to slowly take it into a side bend. And then back up to the ceiling. Reaching up one more time. Over. And back up. Slide that leg in. Make your way back to the center. Now, taking your time, we're going to come up to a standing position. If you need to position your chair, I'll give you a couple of seconds to turn your chair, and also if you need to be closer to a wall, so that if you need to hold on to a wall, you can come forward. You can use the chair as a little assistance. We want to come up to standing. And when we come to standing, I'm going to turn my chair and be towards the side so that you can see. Hopefully you'll be able to see my feet. All right, so in this position, you're going to take and hold on to the back of the chair. I want to get my feet to be hip distance. I'm lifted up nice and tall. And I'm just noticing as I'm holding onto the chair, am I forward on the front of my feet? Or am I way on the back of the foot and tipping forward? I want to try to find my posture in this position, my alignment. So again, I might take one hand, place it on top of my head, try to press my head up into my hand, bringing my hands back onto the chair. And from here, just lift your toes. When you lift your toes and lower them back down, you'll feel a little bit of a lift in the arch. Notice if you're feeling your big toe. You want to find your anchor point. So your anchor point is your big toe, your little toe, and the center of your heel, just at your heel pocket, right in the front of where your heel meets the rest of your foot. So take a moment to just shift your weight over to the right and then shift your weight over to the left. And just notice how when you go over to the right, you are internally rotating your left foot, externally rotating your right foot. So you're feeling the inner and the outer edge of your foot, feeling that grounding through the big toe. Let's take a moment to step our left leg back. So it's a stride position, doesn't have to be too big. You want to look at your back foot. You want to get a little bit of a straight line from your pinky toe to your heel. And then you're in your upright position. You're going to push off your back foot, put the weight into your front foot. You're going to drop your heel down and you're going to lift your forefoot. So you're pushing, that back heel lifts up, and then front foot, called rock and walk. So this is the position that we take when we start to take a step. We push off our back foot, it transfers forward, and we begin to take a step. So feeling that feeling of as we push off the back foot, we land on our front heel. We have a little bit of outside of our foot when we land, and then we finish on our big toe. A really good way to practice good foot alignment in walking. So pushing off. The next time we come up, we'll just bring that foot in. And then again, lining up the toes, let's step back with the opposite foot. Check in with that back foot. Is it at one straight line? There's a little bit of internal rotation at the hip. Push off the back foot. When you lower the heel, let the front toes rise up, push off, and rise up. So you're just doing a little rock and walk. Heel to toe. Heel to toe. Just kind of noticing it on the opposite foot. Are we landing on our front big toe? Feeling our big toe coming into the floor. Step that foot forward. And we want to just keep holding onto the chair. See if we can float the heels up. And as we float the heels up, we're still lifting straight up and lower down. Holding onto the chair in the wall. Just allowing. And it's the heels don't have to lift high. We're just, again, putting the weight on the forefoot, floating up the heels. Let's take a moment to lift the left heel, maybe attach it to the calf of the right, and see if we can do a little heel lift on one foot. And maybe challenging the balance by moving the fingers. So giving our brains a little extra challenge by just moving the fingers, and just notice how that challenges the balance a little bit. Let's try it on the other side. So again, we're just going to float the right heel up and then maybe just bring it against the calf of the left foot and then up, just again, a little floating up of that heel. And then again, maybe just moving the fingers back and forth as if you were playing a piano and just noticing how that challenges the balance. And then let's take a moment to take a few steps back, and we want to just bend our knees and hold on to the back of the chair, or if your chair is tall, maybe hold on to the side of the chair. And we're just leaning back, holding on, and then to come forward, we want to walk back up nice and tall. So again, taking it into a forward bend, but we want to slowly think about that hip hinge. So we're just moving back, sending our hips back. Taking a couple of breaths here, feeling the back of the legs. Now, bend your knees, send your sit bones up towards the ceiling. And then walking forward and back up. Let's just turn to the side. I have my feet hip distance. I can have one hand on the chair if I need to. I'm just going to take my opposite arm. So I'm taking my left arm up. And as I move, I'm going to just take my left arm up and I'm going to press down into my left foot. I want to feel that length all the way up from the foot to the fingertips. And then let the arm come back down. And then I'm going to take my right arm up and I'm going to press into my foot at the same time that I lift up with the right arm. And I'm just reaching up towards the ceiling and then coming back down. Again, if you need to hold on, hold on. This time I'm going to take my left arm up, press into my left foot, and then I'm going to switch and press into my right foot. And then come back down. And again, if you need to hold on to the chair, just kind of turn and then reach that right arm up, push into your right foot, and then switch it and push into your left foot. And then come back down. And if we can take one more and just lift both arms up and feel that grounding through our feet, and see if we can just slowly bend the knees and come into that hip hinge and just reach the arms and then let the arms come down and then sweep your arms to come all the way back up and then lower arms to the side. Thank you everyone for coming. I think we went a little bit over, but.
Okay, thank you, Deb, for a great class.
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. We'll see everybody at our next class. Thank you all for joining us.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good evening.